All right, welcome back. Sophie Hurwitz is a journalist based out of St. Louis, Missouri. She specializes in coverage of student movements, identity-based coverage of LGBT and Jewish issues, and works at the intersections of culture and environment. She has a piece out right now in The Nation titled "Amazon Warehouse Workers Want to Feel Safe." What a thought! Workers want to feel safe. Sophie, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, you write this piece. Amazon is obviously not known for supporting its workers, but they have incredible campaign efforts to trick you otherwise, even if you are a worker. I mean, I was watching an ad yesterday on TV. I didn't know it was an Amazon ad. I caught it like midway through saying, we're so proud that we have a $15 minimum wage. And in many cities where it's more expensive to live, minimum wage is even higher. And we provide health insurance and we pay for college. And I was like, what is this? We are Amazon.
Yeah.
We also provide you water bottles to pee in when you're at the warehouse.
It's ubiquitous. Absolutely. Yeah.
So this one protest here stems out of this horrific situation that happened a few months ago in which a warehouse collapsed on workers when many workers were asked to stay inside against really their own will. What's happening here right now?
What's happening with Amazon in Edwardsville?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I would say that people feel betrayed because, like you said, these ads basically telling people that this is one of the best jobs you can get, especially in a place like St. Louis. Like, we are a post-industrial, smaller sized metro area. There aren't a whole lot of jobs, especially jobs that you don't need an advanced degree for, that pay as well as Amazon does. That part is true. But then, like you said, the ads kind of promise that this will also bring a better life. It'll bring safety. It'll bring security. And I think that this warehouse collapse and the sort of uncaring showed to what workers need and even to workers' lives proves that that is not the case.
This was, of course, a tornado that hit the facility, and that day that occurred, I believe it was December 10th. Yeah, December 10th was the same day that the CEO of Amazon, the founder, former CEO, I don't know what he is now, actually, but
Mr.
the founder,
Bezos, yeah.
Mr. Bezos, the man of Amazon, the founder, he was landing his spaceship.
Yeah, it really struck me how long it took him to acknowledge what was happening, especially I'm pretty young. I know a lot of people that work at Amazon that are very much just like me. And I was seeing tweets that were like, oh my God, I'm one warehouse over. I could have been flattened. People trying to figure out where their cousins were, where their family members were. And meanwhile, Jeff Bezos is launching his rocket.
Literally. Yeah. I mean, it's almost poetic in a really dark way. But when the rocket landed or whatever, I don't know what you actually say. You say landed, parked. I have no idea.
I'm not sure either. I'm not a rocket scientist.
Exactly. And I'm not a billionaire. So when they landed the rocket and he got off and he was doing this press conference, it was eerie how out of touch he was, because even one of the women next to him who was, she has experience in space and was working with him, he said something like, and we wouldn't be able to do this without the workers of Amazon.
Yeah.
And her jaw dropped on stage because, of course, this had occurred, not like during the time they were there. And of course, he didn't acknowledge the workers who had been killed. So, this is not a great media narrative for him. Let's just start off with that.
No.
So what are they doing there now? I mean, this is, you had workers who died. Their family has been affected. One of the workers' father said, my daughter was not expendable at a rally on January 27th. What are they trying to do? Are they just raising awareness? Is there a unionization effort there now?
I think what they want is primarily for Amazon to keep their promises from those ads. I think what they want is for Amazon to keep their promises and for Amazon to actually deliver on the working environment that they promised. That could certainly involve unionization. I know that many, many different workers' unions, and I think this is a really interesting point, have been supporting the Edwardsville Amazon workers. Like, you have people across industries. You've got fast food workers. You've got Teamsters. You've got, sheet metal workers. And they all came through to this rally. I was just struck by I showed up, there's just like a line of union trucks and union cars from a bunch of unions, some of which I hadn't even heard of. And so I think the inter-industry solidarity and the recognition that, what happens to an Amazon worker happens to all workers, particularly given that Amazon workers make up like a massive percentage of workers in the US now, right? I think that was really striking. I also think it's connected to Amazon unionization efforts like the one in Bessemer, like the one in Staten Island, I actually just spoke to a Staten Island Amazon union worker who says that they're currently in contact with folks at 20 different warehouses in 12 different states across the nation. So I very much do think it's all connected. I think it's just workers asking to be treated as human.
Are we seeing any of the unions that have shown up in solidarity working in conjunction with Amazon workers on the ground about potentially unionizing there? I mean, there are all different types of union strategies where existing unions, local unions will come in and assist, even if it's not necessarily it may not be the same union that Bessemer used, or in Staten Island, they're organizing their own union. Is there any union on the ground that's looking into this, as far as you know?
I don't know if there is a specific union that is the forerunner right now. I do know that the Missouri Workers Center is a group of people that have connections with a lot of different unions that have been talking to the Amazon workers and have been working with them. And so I think that if I were to make a guess, any unionization effort would likely come through there and would likely be very connected to the other ones across the country.
Very interesting. How are the families doing? Has Amazon taken care of the families in any way?
I know that there was some kind of frankly token effort towards doing so. Like, I believe Amazon donated about $1 million to relief efforts in Edwardsville, which sounds like a lot, but is really small considering Amazon's profits, right? Yeah. And I do know that, of course, they released practically the equivalent of a Notes app apology, I would say, to the families. I know that one girl I spoke to was actually the cousin of one of the women who was killed in the warehouse. And she started working at another Amazon warehouse the week after her cousin was killed. So I think that really speaks to sort of the conditions and sort of the way that Amazon sees people as interchangeable. Sometimes literally, one woman dies, another woman from her exact same family comes in and starts working. So I would say that the prevailing feeling among workers I spoke to was, no, they're not doing enough to support them.
And in terms of the workers that were affected because this warehouse was crushed, I mean, have they been able to work in other facilities?
I know that most of them have mostly just been transferred to other warehouses in the area. This was not the only warehouse building in the Edwardsville/Greater St. Louis area. There are several. And my sense from speaking with a few workers is just that they were transferred over to other buildings, just kind of slotted in elsewhere in the machine.
Well, this is just, it's such a tragic story, and another example of really the effect that this company, which has had record profits and Bezos' own personal wealth has doubled since the pandemic started. But to the juxtaposition, of course, is really horrible. And why we have labor laws in this country that seem to have withered away. But really, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a breakdown of what's happening. Please keep us in the loop if anything does happen on the ground in terms of unionization. We'd love to have you back on.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophie. Sophie Hurwitz, her article is out in The Nation right now. Amazon warehouse workers want to feel safe. It was published yesterday. We are independent media. Shocker. We don't depend on corporate interests. So we are relying on our loyal listeners, the ones who tune in regularly or try to tune in regularly and are committed to supporting progressive independent media. Because let me tell you something, if it doesn't financially work, we don't exist. We're able to do that because of our patrons. Go to patreon.com/The Nomiki Show. There's lots of swag available to certain patrons. You can get a mug, you can get a bag, you can get some stickers. We have exclusive content. We're going to be doing some meetings in a couple of weeks exclusively for our patrons. Go to patreon.com/The Nomiki Show. And if you are not already listening to us on the other platforms, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes. You can find us on the whole array. It's going to, there it is, right up on screen.